this computer.
I'm ready.
It seems we are recording. If you'd like to go ahead, Alan.
All right. Well, we will begin the March 29th meeting, and I believe it's 6 o'clock. I can't tell, but darn close
6:02.
to it. Pardon?
I've got it.
Okay. Again, in compliance with Public Act 100-0640, it's been determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of current COVID-19 pandemic disaster and associated building restrictions. Public access to the meeting is being provided remotely, online, or by phone. Additionally, public comments can be submitted before the meeting to Gina at the library for recitation and to public record during the public participation. So, Tammy, would you please do the roll call?
I will. Mr. Sherwood,
Here.
Mr. Gross,
Here.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Here.
Mr. Laswell,
Here.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Here.
Mrs. Hanks.
Here.
All right, well, we'll move along to public participation. And Gina, are you aware of anything to
I do
add
not
to
see any
this?
public in this meeting, and I have not received any public participation emails.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, we'll move along to number 3, the agenda review. Does anybody have any modifications to tonight's meeting?
Before we move any further, do we need to assign a different secretary?
That would probably be a great idea. Yes, Tammy, we will. Well, we need to appoint a secretary, and I'm not sure who. Does anybody hold up their arm? Don't everybody? Okay, I guess I just have to look around.
What do I have to do?
Ellen, you were.
For what it's
I'll do
worth,
it, but
Tammy is our recording secretary. So what you do as the temporary secretary is review the minutes, and when it's time to sign them, you get to sign them.
perfect. I'll do
That's
that.
it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
I have
you.
faith in you, Ellen.
All right, pays the same. All right, next is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of the February 22nd, 2021 regular meeting and executive session, and the approval of the bills. And we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, and second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, any questions? All right, hearing none. Tammy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. We'll move along to the treasurer's report, and Ron.
Yeah, I don't have anything above and beyond what's in the board packet. Tammy, I don't know if you have anything to add to it, but
I do. The working budget that I sent in your packet had a mistake on it. There was no per capita grant income or other grant income this month. So those should just be crossed off there.
All right. And if no other questions, we'll move along. Thanks, Ron. We'll move along to Gina and the director's report.
Hi there. Before I go any farther, and maybe I should have done this under public participation, but she's not really public. She's here as staff now. I'd like to introduce, she's in the middle of my screen. I'm not sure where she is on yours. Rebecca Samaji. Rebecca has been hired and started this month as incoming business manager. So as you know, Tammy still has one more meeting left with us, but Rebecca is here with us now, and they have been working together quite closely since Rebecca has been here. And so I will give her a moment to introduce herself to the board. I've explained that she works pretty closely with the board, as do I. And so I think it's been going great so far. I hope she feels the same.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I am very happy to be here. I don't know 100% what to say. I've been working with banking, finance, accounting things for over 10 years now. So I'm happy to bring those skills over to the library and work with all of you.
Right. Well, we're very happy to have you on board, and I'm sure Tammy's given you as much info as she possibly can to make a transition.
I've got a notebook full.
I'm sure. Right, Tammy, you got about a month to go. So that's when let it all out and tell it all.
She's doing great.
Good. Well, excellent. Happy to hear that.
I do not have a ton to add to my director's report. I will give you an update. The roofers did come by today. In regard to the leak I mentioned under buildings facilities. And we had a valid reason to believe that because apparently there was a hole in the roof. They have since fixed it. It was not deemed to be under warranty, so I expect I'll be seeing an invoice, but the fact that they discovered the hole and repaired it before they came back down or came and talked to me makes me happy. And they showed me a picture. It wasn't like a massive hole or anything like that. So anyway, the roof is fixed. That makes me happy. Do you guys have any questions about my director's report?
No.
Okay. Then I don't really have a ton to add to it this month. Statistics also are in your packet and continue to be wonky as we are in wonky times.
Okay. We'll move along to communication and correspondence, library statistics.
I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions about the statistics?
Oh, oops, sorry.
I did that. That was my bad. I'm sorry. All right. No questions.
Well, all right. Now we'll move along to communications and correspondence, library statistics.
I think we just did that.
Okay. I need to yawn, I think.
Okay, let it out.
Well, we'll move along to action items. And first one is action item 2021-0301, the approval and addition of Hoopla funds. And we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And Tammy?
Do you want me to
We'll need
talk about it first?
Okay. Any discussion?
So because of the cost that we're looking to put in there, so our Hoopla funds, our Hoopla service has always been funded kind of grant-based. We've used per capita to fund that, and I would propose that we continue to do that. We usually fund it with per capita, and then sometimes when we have additional remaining funds in certain budget lines at the end of the year, we'll add some additional to that. So Hoopla works on a credit basis, as in we've kind of put money on our account, and then when people use it, it gets deducted. It has been popular since the pandemic. It was one of the items that we could continue to offer even when the building was closed and staff was home. It was one of our digital services and has continued to do that. So over the last 12 months, we have just done over just about $15,000 worth of Hoopla credit we've used. We have enough on our accounts now to carry us through the end of the fiscal year, but I am proposing that we put $18,000 on it for the coming fiscal year. That will allow us at least current usage and some growth. Any questions about Hoopla?
No.
Okay.
All right. If no other questions, I think 18,000, quite a fair amount, and that'll cover any of the additional requests. So if nobody has any questions, we can do a roll call vote. Tammy?
Warren,
Yes?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwalader,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. And finally, action item 2021-0302, the approval of administrative succession plan. And we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. It's Marilyn.
Okay. And second?
Yeah, I'll
Second
second
it.
it.
Okay. And Gina?
So as we've been reviewing the standards under the per capita grant guidelines, we identified a few things that we needed to perhaps address based on, standards and needs of the library, things like that. The library has always had a list of responsibility during the absence of the director. So under regular circumstances, if I'm out of the building or on vacation or some other sort of kind of short-term absence, that list has always carried us. What we have never had, at least to my knowledge, and if those that have been on the board longer maybe can correct me if I'm wrong, is any sort of a written administrative succession plan. We jokingly call that the if Gina gets hit by a bus plan. I try to stay out of the way of buses, but this is something that could help guide the board as far as plans to take should I have a short, like in very unexpected, longer short-term absence, if you will, or a longer term absence, but the thought would be that I would be returning. I looked at a few out there in library land and based this one on that, applying our specific positions to this. I guess I'll turn it over to the board and see if there's any questions that you have about it.
I thought it looked good, so I don't have anything to add.
It is not a document that necessarily contains all the information that the acting person would need. Like I said, that would kind of be a file that grows, but would give the board kind of some direction of how to proceed administratively for the leadership of the library in the term of that absence. There is also kind of a caveat in there, even in the case that we're turning now, but believe it or not, Rebecca, this was written in there before. It's not specific to you, but if in fact the person who's kind of normally supposed to do that seems to be new or inexperienced or for some other reason can't fill that role, that there's some options there as well.
Well, there's a lot of what ifs and so, and how you can react and so, I think it's very good. I think it's well shown here. And I think that'll be a good representation of what we need to do. So does anybody else have any comments? Tammy, need a roll call, please?
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll move along to closing comments. Does anybody have anything before we adjourn until April? All right, well, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
And second?
I'll second.
All right, and roll call.
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
and Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll see you all in April, April 26th.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
That's good.
All right.